Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to the episode of my F1 2019 career mode, episode number 32 today for the British Grand Prix in Season 2. If you guys did miss the previous one, the Austrian Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. The first ultimate upgrade of our car was at Austria, and it was a very good Grand Prix for us. We come to, though, our home Grand Prix with two upgrades to the engine and the chassis side of things, with a rate redistribution and engine power there, and looking forward to this one and hoping to make up for Season 1, because remember what happened at Season 1, we entered the race unfortunately with a very worn gearbox. I tried to limp home, didn't even make it through the entire Grand Prix, and our engine, or gearbox rather, blew out, and our car, well, spun to a halt, as it were, through the last corner very early on. So that was a very difficult and annoying home Grand Prix. I hope that doesn't mean for the entire game here we're going to have a bit of a bogey circuit on our hands with Silverstone and do a bit of a Jensen Button where he just never, really clicked too much at his home GP. Hopefully that's not the case for us. I'd love to do well at Silverstone, at the British GP, but we'll just have to see about that. But coming into this then, ourselves, Alfa Romeo and McLaren both upgrade into this weekend, and so we close down quite a fair bit on Mercedes, although I'll say McLaren are there with us on paper. They haven't really shown themselves fully yet on track. They still seem to be behind Ferrari and Red Bull when it comes to the actual circuit, which kind of proves that the R&D chart doesn't really mean as much as you think when you look at it. You've got to take it with a pinch of salt, but let's see. If they do turn up here, it would be a very good thing for the spectacle if the British team turned up at the British Grand Prix. But obviously I'm hoping that we can be the ones that can take the fight to Mercedes, of course. We're trying our best. We've now got 2 wins in the last 3 episodes. Momentum is building somewhat, but there's a massive gap to Lewis Hamilton. We're not even halfway through the season yet, so I'm not quite thinking about the championship quite yet, but you just never know, and you have to just keep, building on momentum, essentially. So let's hope we can do that again at Silverstone. So let's get into qualifying then and see how we do on a Saturday.
It's time once again then for qualifying here at Silverstone, on what we're hoping will be a tight contest for pole position. And I'm here, of course, with Anthony Davidson on what has turned out to be a very pleasant day indeed. No weather to interfere, no problems on the track, so absolutely no room for error.
That's right, Crofty. It's looking good out there at the moment. Each team will have their own game plan for this session, and of course, once the cars leave the garage, they'll be under parc fermé conditions, so any last-minute adjustments need to be done right here and now. Beyond that, it's all up to the driver. Who can keep their tyres in the right temperature? Who can hit their apexes? No race fuel on board these days, of course. These are the fastest cars we've had in a long, long time, and it's right here in qualifying where they're at their absolute peak. Let's get started.
So going into Q1 then on a flying lap and trying to get back to grips with this Alfa Romeo car, because if you did watch yesterday's episode, that experiment video we did, you'll know that I've been away at the Hungarian GP and in Budapest for about a week now, so all the videos you've been seeing and the last, I think, 4 episodes of career mode have been all pre-recorded like a week or so ago, so it's been some time since I've been in the Alfa Romeo car, so getting back to grips with it and the handling of it, and definitely understeering a bit more than that maxed out Williams car in the experiment videos, but nonetheless still feeling pretty good and across the line a little bit wide, but it's going to be fastest in Q1 then. So, although the lap didn't actually feel that amazing, I can't lie, but I think that's more because it was Q1, the track's still rubbering in. The lap time was there, it seemed like, so our car is actually going quite well around Silverstone. It's a nice difference to what we had last year, already in terms of, that's one less bad omen. I will say, though, actually, I forgot to record it, unfortunately, when I actually did it, but I have had to change the gearbox, so I will be getting a 5-place penalty for a gearbox change. For some reason, I've just forgot to actually click record when I was changing the gearbox there, so I can't actually show you the gameplay of me changing it, but I do have the 5-place penalty. You'll see it when we go to the grid, basically. So no matter where we qualify, we will get a 5-place grid penalty, and it is actually something that's been fixed as well in the latest patch for F1 2019. So we get through into Q3, thankfully, in P8. Raikkonen shows a lot more pace in Q2, so that's very good news for the team, I guess, but actually we're a little bit worrying for me that I lack some pace there in that second run in Q2. So we're going to see how it goes in Q3 now. Top 10 shootout. Big lockup, though, into the village section, so that's not going to help me too much there. Still rotated the car pretty well, actually, though. As we go through now, we've got Sebastian Vettel in the fast lap of the session so far. We're going to swing through and see what we can do here as we try and jostle for the grip and soar away at the steering wheel there across the line. It's P1 at the time, down to P3 as it was by the time we get to the end of the session. We're on our second flying lap then, so it's right now 1-2 for Mercedes, and although I don't don't lock up into Village. I went way too cautious in the brake zone there, so I lost a bit of time there. We gained some back, and we're green just about through Magda Beckett's there, chucking the car through, but not too much up on our time. Literally less than a tenth, and into the last two corners, way too hot and eager, trying to gain too much time in that last sector. So going wide in the last two corners, across the line, and it's not going to be an improvement, unfortunately, and will just be third place for us there at our home Grand Prix, and it won't even be third on the grid. It will be obviously third plus 5 places, so P8 that will be tomorrow on Sunday, but P3 as it is in this session, which is okay, I guess. It was a little bit disheartening considering where we were at Austria in terms of the pace over one lap, and also in the race to be that far away on pace and time compared to Hamilton, but you can see where Raikkonen ended up. It was very tight actually, in the apart from the two Mercedes cars, very, very tight session. You got the likes of Sergio Perez right in the middle there, beating both Ferrari cars and one Red Bull of Gasly there, so Perez done really well in McLaren, and Raikkonen isn't even that too much far off my time, but it sees him go down so many places, so it is very, very close stuff there, and of course we'll be going back there into P8, so it's going to be an interesting Grand Prix. And also you might have seen there was a forecast for rain in this race tomorrow, so might be quite a difficult one for us actually, having to go 5 places back and then recover, but let's just see. Let's go to the grid on Sunday.
We're right back where it all began. The very first World Championship Grand Prix was held here at Silverstone in 1950, with Giuseppe Farina taking the top step of an all-Alfa Romeo podium. He earned 9 championship points that day on his way to the inaugural title. His winning total at the season's end, just 30 points. My, how times have changed. So let's see who can reach the top step of the modern podium today. Silverstone Circuit then. It's 3.6 miles long and has a total of 18 corners. And of course, is no stranger to the rain. There won't be any DRS available in these conditions, but the Wellington and Hangar Straights are still good opportunities to tuck into the slipstream and make a pass. Joining me for the Grand Prix once again is Anthony Davidson. They're still relatively new to a sport which does have a high learning curve and, of course, little tolerance for mistakes. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Verstappen, Perez, Charles Leclerc and Gasly, Vettel, the engineer, Raikkonen and Lando Norris, Weber, Hülkenberg, Devon Butler and Ricciardo, Magnussen, Stroll, Antonio Giovinazzi and Alexander Albon, Kubica and Romain Grosjean sits at the back of the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Alright, so yeah, it is indeed raining then on Sunday, and it's going to be raining the entire Grand Prix. So this might be quite a difficult one for us now, especially after the patch. The AI are very good in the wet now, once again, and so no longer do we have that advantage. And we are down in P8 as well, alongside Raikkonen with that grid penalty for the gearbox change. But at least we now have a fresh gearbox for this race. Don't have to worry about that, but it is going to be a difficult one. But let's get into this then. It's our home Grand Prix, and it surely can't get any worse than it did last season for us here at Silverstone. So here we go then to 5 red lights at a very soaking British GP. The lights are out and we're underway from P8 as an okay start for us, but then the second phase of traction, Vettel will get that into turn 1. Sergio Perez down the inside of Leclerc. There they make contact and Perez is round. And no, come on. No, into turn 1. We've smashed Perez in a T-bone. The full safety car is out there. So the safety car for the, I think, second or third time only in my career mode has come out. And Sergio Perez, though, getting caught on the wheel of Charles Leclerc's Ferrari, and the Mexican in the McLaren is round, and we've T-boned him. Had no way, or nowhere to go. I was braking, I was changing down gears, but there was just no room. My car had so much momentum going to turn 1, because I actually found a lot of space there around the outside. If it wasn't for Perez, I might have gained about 3 positions there into turn 1 with the space I found there, but he just blocked the track. There's probably good reason why there's a lot of space, because everyone had preempted and saw him coming, but I did not till the last minute, and so we're here in the pit lane then at the end of lap 1, having to change our front wing. I suspect Perez might also need some changing of the front wing. I'm not too sure. It didn't actually look like he had damage, apart from maybe just grazing his side pod there, but of course on the game there's no damage to the side pod, unfortunately. Otherwise he probably would have to retire from the Grand Prix after that massive collision that I just gave him, because it was a pretty hefty thump still at about 4th or third gear, enough to break my wing at least, of course. So we're now down the pit lane. We're going to be in last place. The only good thing here is the safety car has come out, so we will bunch up right to the back of this order. So we're not lost, 20 seconds out right here with his pit stop. We'll be, P20, but we'll see P19 right ahead of us. But that's still a lot of work to do. There's a lot of traffic to get through. So here we go now on the restart, and this is what I mean. It's going to be very annoying because I actually get a good exit there on scroll, but the green flag still hasn't come out there, so I can't technically overtake him yet. So I have to leave him back through, and through the last 3 corners now, just trundling along, trying to find traction now through the last corner. And the AI now are so good through this corner in the wet, let alone in the dry as well. And so I just can't catch up to Lance Stroll straight away on the restart as I want it. So lap number 4, we've got 22 laps left of this Grand Prix. Pretty sure I can't go to the end on these inters, so we'll have to make another stop. So it's not like I have an advantage on everyone else anyway as well of having done one pit stop. I'm still going to have to do a one stop. This first pit stop was effectively a non-existent stop for me. It's still going to be a one stop from here on out. So that's going to be very unfortunate. And so we have a long Grand Prix ahead of us, I feel. Especially right now, it doesn't look like we're getting a move on particularly quickly here. We're now going to try and overtake Albon. The only reason I'm going to overtake him quite quickly there is because he's got an issue with his car. And so everyone's overtaken him. And so we get past into P19. But still, Lance Stroll doing an okay job of keeping me at bay. We need to find somehow to overtake him and try and find some speed in this car. Because this man, Lewis Hamilton, right now is in P1. The man I'm trying somewhat to chase down the championship, and right now he's got a very easy job out in first place. His rear gunner Bottas in second, and meanwhile Raikkonen down here behind the Ferraris and Red Bulls, showing that maybe our Alfa car just doesn't have too much pace in the wet here around Silverstone, unfortunately. But that still means we should have the pace over these midfield cars here, so at the moment a bit frustrating and worrying that I can't get past Lance Stroll. We're going to try and go around the outside to the inside of left field. This time he leaves us some room there, and we just about force our way through with our nose there, and we're going to be up into P18 on the exit, going to squeeze him out indefinitely and get that position finally. But that took maybe 2 laps, and it needed more laps than it needed to, really. I really thought we could have done it on the restart straight away, but it's taken a bit of a while. But now we'll try to chase after Romain Grosjean. The Haas car is, I think, the worst car on the grid, I'm pretty sure, these days. So we should be able to get him and Giovinazzi pretty quickly, I would hope. Here's where you can see, though, having to still work away at the steering wheel. I mean, the car is still on tiptoes, and it may be better than these cars, but it still needs to make sure, it still needs to remember that it's intermediate conditions. So it still means we have to be kind of careful and have our wits about us here, because we could lose the rear end at any point, really, and it's still quite unstable mid-apex. We catch up to Grosjean and actually closed up quite a fair bit there in Stowe, quite surprisingly. So if I had known that, I already would have tried to make a lunge to the inside and try and make a late dive bomb move, but alas, we're going to have to learn from that now. Lap 6, we're going to have to try and set that move up once again on the back straight off the exit of Magnussen Beckett's. But this just shows, actually, in lap 6, the fact that I haven't been able to overtake Grosjean or even get close to him on that whole lap until now kind of shows how good the AI are now after this patch in the rain. So we're going to have to make a move now to the inside, but we get it done finally on the apex there. Grosjean just has to give in and tuck in, and now we chase after his teammate Giovinazzi, but again, might take a little bit of time. We move on to the next lap 7 on the main first straight here. No DRS, of course, but into the Luffield section, trying to size up a move. He's very slow mid-apex, so could we try and maybe go on the outside? Maybe could try and feather the throttle and try and just get the power down as early as we can, but just doesn't work out there, and Giovinazzi keeps it ahead. The man that obviously kicked out of Alfa Romeo in Season 1 to take this seat, but here we go now to the inside. Bit of a wobble as we did it there, so the car's still unstable, even in a straight line, it would seem, at this conditions. But we're up into P16, a little bit wide on the exit. We get it done, and now we've got some clean air to try and chase after the train that is tail-ended by Kevin Magnussen in the Williams. But you can see, once again, drifting the car through, essentially, Magnussen Beckett to high speed there. But we do catch up to Magnussen and this train on lap number 9. So we are building speed eventually, and definitely in clean air, the car is a lot faster. So it really is a case of this traffic is really the major thing that's slowing us down, and maybe once I get into some more clean air, I can actually show Raikkonen what kind of pace this car should have in these kind of tricky intermediate conditions. So here we go. First of all, though, we have to get past that said traffic, and so the first and foremost car we'll try and overtake here is Magnussen. Now we're closing with overtake mode on ERS. We dive down the inside and get him into Stowe, P15 that is, and we're going to try and think about getting on the back of Ricciardo straight away. because these guys are really scrapping away, and they slow each other down massively to the point where we're able to make the dive to the inside of Ricciardo and do a Ricciardo-esque move on Ricciardo and squeeze him out up into P14. There we go. And now we can chase after Robert Kubica in the Renault there on lap number 10. So hopefully just continue this progress and try and get 2 cars a lap. That would be very ideal, but also maybe a little bit optimistic. We'll have to see. But that Renault, I don't know, historically this career mode so far has been pretty slow in a straight line, but they have been improving quite a fair bit as of late with the Lucas Weber effect, I like to call it, with whatever team Weber's in seems to just exponentially improve in R&D terms quite a fair bit. So we'll see how it goes in a straight line here. For now, it looks actually no, it looks like we still have a bit of an advantage actually in the straight line here, so we might be quite good off the exit of Luffield potentially as we go. Have a look around the outside. Maybe is Kubica very slow and tight on the apex there, compromises his own line, but we don't have any room down the inside, unlike with the move we made on Lance Stroll earlier. He's got Hulkenberg in the Racing Point car ahead of him, and then you've got I think 3 more cars, that is, including his teammate Weber, and also a Toro Rosso, I think, of Devin Butler and McLaren as well in there in this train. Behind us, it's side by side into Copse there for the 2 Williams cars of Ricciardo and Magnussen, as we keep as close as we dare through Copse now on Kubica. We're going to make a move on the right-hand side, the outside into Maggots, then it'll turn to the inside, of course, for the right-hander, then on the outside of the left, but we get it done before that, and we've made a really sweet move into that section. And so now we'll chase after Hulkenberg in the Racing Point car. Can we make a late lunge to the inside of Stowe? I wonder, of course, as we try and gain some speed. And up ahead, I think it is Norris versus Weber, and also I think it's going to be Devin Butler in the Toro Rosso, like I said. So 3 F2 graduates, as it were, scrapping away there, but Hulkenberg goes very wide on the right-hand side for some reason, leaves me the door open, and so we go with a very aggressive squeeze out there on the German. Don't know what happened there. It looks like he was maybe preempting Norris going defensive, and so he pulled really to the right quite extremely, and that just compromised his line. And so now we close up now on lap number 12 to this fight, like I said, between Norris, Butler, and Weber. Of course, remember, Norris was also there in the F2 2018 Championship in the story mode before we started our F1 career at the very start of this career mode series. So literally all 4 of us have come from F2 in the previous before season 1. So very cool to see all 4 of us scrapping away. We go for a move on Norris, and Weber goes the move on Devin Butler there. So my former teammate in F2 battles my rival in F2, and they're side by side. We've overtaken Norris, another F2 graduate, and so it's really the young guns on show here. And Weber tries to go around the outside, locks up on the front left though, and Butler maintains that position for now. Can we try and close up though on the German and spoil the party and get back into the points paying positions for the first time in this race? And we go through to the halfway point of the race on lap 13 as well, quite nicely and fittingly actually, if we could get into the points at this stage of the Grand Prix. Of course, the tyre wear might be kicking in a little bit now for these guys. I've had, obviously I had 1 lap, I pit on lap 1 and then 3 laps under the safety car, so my tyres are somewhat fresher than these guys, so that might be a little bit of an advantage, I hope, but we'll just kind of see. Right now, Weber though is doing a pretty good job at keeping the pressure on Butler rather than looking back at me, to be honest, I would say, as we go through into the next section now into Luffield. Norris also keeping up behind me here, so we have to watch out for that. But as we go through the apex of Luffield, actually saying that, we do gain a little bit there, get the power down, a little bit of a squirm on the exit. But I think Weber here might be caught up a little bit in the wake of Butler's car, so we're going to catch up a little bit as we pull through into 7th gear, overtake mode engaged on the ERS, and we're flying through now down the inside, and it's a very awesome move to the inside of the old turn 1 Copse into P10 and in the points paying position. Sorry, Weber, that was a little bit too easy, to be honest there, so he didn't make that too difficult. And so now we close up to Devin Butler here. Now the car is feeling pretty supreme actually, so I don't know, for some reason right now on this lap it's just hooked up really, and so we're going through and the engine is going to full power here, rich mix overtake mode, and look at the speed we're gaining here on the Toro Rosso here. So the engine power is finally coming through and showing in the Alfa Romeo Racing car compared to the Toro Rosso, which I think is I'm pretty sure is further down, much further down in the order in the engine R&D side of things. And so we're up into P9, but Butler actually comes in for a pit stop, and so that's an indication now, like I said, probably now the guys are hitting some tyre wear, so maybe that's also why Weber was struggling there and made it so easy for me. His tyres maybe had gone off completely into that Copse corner. As we now go up into P5, as it were, on that 14. We've set 2 green sectors now in 1 and 2, and we come through to the last sector. We're going to overtake everyone now and get a free track ahead of us and set the fast lap of the Grand Prix on lap 15 on pretty worn intermediate tyres, just showing how much I was hindered in the dirty air and the traffic basically. And when this car is in clean air, it's got some decent pace, or even in intermediate conditions. So now we move on to lap 17 though, and that's when I start to slow down a little bit. 2 red sectors. So now I think it's the time to come in for a pit stop as Hamilton goes and beats my fast lap of the Grand Prix. Now fresh inters here. So as much as I did think about it, I will fully admit, I did think about the very bold strategy of could we just go to the end? But looking at the tyre wear, remembering what happened before, like the Spanish Grand Prix in Season 1, I would have for sure probably got a puncher if I tried to get to the end of this Grand Prix on this set of tyres. And also, to be fair, I probably would have been overtaken by most of the top 10 if I continued on there, because the pace was already dropping quite rapidly compared to that Hamilton fast lap of the Grand Prix. So we come in then for our pit stop, and, you know, it is what it is. We have to just kind of go on and work with it, basically, and go on to another set of inters. I think we have had enough pace, though, to leapfrog Sergio Perez in the McLaren, and he was ahead of us before the pit stop phases. So I think we've basically done a major overcut on him and been able to jump him. And so we should come out actually in P8 behind our teammate Kimi Raikkonen. Not directly behind him, but at least behind him on track. And then we can try and do see what we can do, trying to chase him down at least in the remaining part of this Grand Prix. So here we come now out of the pit lane. You should see Perez on the right-hand side somewhere coming through. He's going to be quite close to us. There he is. Just a second or two behind us there. And so, yeah, we do come out in P8. Raikkonen is the car ahead of us. And so we've now got, how many laps is that? 8 laps left to try and catch Raikkonen up and try and get some more points in this Grand Prix. But at one point we will get maybe is the fast lap of the Grand Prix. On lap 20 we go set that through, and hopefully we can keep that for 1 extra point in this championship, because you never know, down to the wire it could be settled by 1 point. It did, remember, in Season 1 between Bottas and Vettel, the championship did go down to a wire and did go down to 1 point. So you just never really know now. As we now come through on the second last lap of the Grand Prix, you can see, unfortunately for us, even though we're pushing very hard still, we're going to go set another fast lap of the Grand Prix. Actually, it's going to be as we cross the line here. We're just not, we've just had too much of a gap to Raikkonen to actually catch him up right at the end of this Grand Prix. And so it's going to be only P8 for us then. So we are going to finish where we started in this race. It's been a very long race, but after all of that, it's going to be P8. Hamilton actually stole the fast lap of the Grand Prix from me at the very end, but we're going to skate across the line, slide across it, and then we just got the fast lap of the Grand Prix back off him, despite that spin.
Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
It was a question of right place, right time today. We were looking at an entirely different race before the safety car came out, but they were able to take full advantage after the field had been bunched up.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team, and they certainly deserve it.
So yeah, there you have it. We did, in fact, actually steal the fast lap of the Grand Prix back off Hamilton after he stole it off me on the last lap of the GP, even with that spin. So finishing off the home Grand Prix in style, but still not a great result with Silverstone once again this season. But at least we finished the race and came P8 and recovered back to where we were. But yeah, that was a frustrating Grand Prix because it means Hamilton pulls out such a big gap there after all the hard work we've done. The last 3 races of, you know, trying to erode that gap he had. One race, bang, he just gets, what's that, you know, 25 minus 5, he gets 20 points in one go. You know, I've had to win 2 races. I think he's come second in both those races, so both times I've only gained 14 points. In France, only came second place. I think he came third, so I got 3 points. So all in all, I gained 17 on him. He's gained 20 here in this race. So overall, he's just gained 3 points in the championship lead after 4 rounds. Very frustrating times, but that's the way it sometimes goes in F1, and you just got to hope it evens out at some point in this season. He has some sort of mechanical issue, has some sort of bad race, and I can gain 20 points back on him in one go. We'll just have to see. We don't know, but at least positives, we do get 600 extra points on the resource, therefore doing some contract objectives, so at least we can try and improve the car even more and try and guarantee to get in those positions to try and battle Hamilton. But today, I mean, Raikkonen wasn't even there as well, so it was a tough day for the team in general for pace in the wet there. Definitely, I think our car suits the dry conditions more than the wet, I think you would say. But in terms of talking about upgrades, then we're going to go for another chassis upgrade here, because like I said, I want to try and delve into the chassis side of things, because our car apparently is one of the worst cars on the chassis side of things, so I want to try and dive into that with the chassis weight redistribution, and also I want to try and catch up and get into the brakes part of the chassis thing, because I do think our car is a little bit weak on the brakes. I mean, I do brake quite late sometimes, you saw in that race as well, but in the dry, sometimes I'm not as confident as I want to be on the brakes, so I want to try and get into those upgrades and try and improve that side of the car for sure, and try and get a bit more kind of Ricciardo dive bomb potential, as it were, in the car, basically. So we'll go for that. Unfortunately, that means we can't really afford much else, so we're just trying to save R&D points at this stage of the season. I don't know, at some stage I feel like we need to maybe try and save some points up for like a big spend in one go, because it's now slowing down a little bit the rate we're upgrading versus Mercedes and McLaren there, which is getting a little bit worrying, but we'll see about that. But guys, nonetheless, if you did enjoy that Grand Prix, a hefty comeback of sorts from last place back to where we were in P8, then be sure to smash the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, do go subscribe for weekly full-on content. I've been Alfa. Have a good day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.